This is the Kubeflow community call for March 5th, 2024. That's right, it's 2024 for those that use checks. And then also make sure that this meeting is being recorded and it is governed by the Kubeflow Code of Conduct, so be nice. We're going to start off with the release update, release 1.9.0. Ricardo, maybe you can give us what's happening in the world of release updates today, please.
Yeah, sure. So for 1.9 updates, I think you guys can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you. Do you want to share anything, or should I go back to where we were at?
No, that's fine. It's just because I can't join from a Zoom client, so I didn't know that it's working from a browser. All right, 1.9 release. We had yesterday the last meeting. It was expected to be the mid checkpoint meeting. We've been planning since the beginning of the 1.9 release, but for some reason, I felt that we did not have enough people to share the overall status for Kubeflow, but in fact, we had. So, um, despite that, we just postponed the mid checkpoint meeting for the next week, which means March 11th. But looking at the roadmap issues we have for 1.9 release, I had the feeling that we are, if not close to 50%, maybe for some working groups, we have more than 50% of the development work done, which is great. We can stick to the original release date for 1.9. For 1.8.1 release, we just released 1.8.1 RC0 tag with the updates from KServe, KFP Tecton, and pipelines. And we're waiting for Notebooks team for confirmation if we can tag for 1.8.1 and finally release 1.8.1 final. Um, Also, I invite the community to test 1.8.1 release and make sure all of the non-issues for KServe pipelines and KFP Tecton are fixed for 1.8. Um, and we'll let the community know when we have the 1.8.1 final release published. I think this is all of the updates for release. Back to you, Josh.
Okay, great job. Is there anything that you'd like the community to pay attention to here in particular?
For 1.9 or 1.8.1?
Either one. Anything that you feel like you need some help with?
Um, I'll leave the notebooks leads to say, but I think we're still working on issues for notebooks, but I don't know if we have everything covered. So if anyone is willing to help with fixing the notebooks issues for 1.8.1 release, please reach out to the working group leads for
Actually, a lot of people have, it's a quick update there. A lot of people have actually started contributing. It's now just a matter of I have to go through them and make sure that they're all correct.
Awesome. So let's just say it's just merging
I
the
also need
remaining PRs
permission.
for the fixes.
Yeah, I can merge all the PRs. That's like, I mean, assuming they're correct, obviously. But the I am still lacking the permissions required to actually cherry pick them into a release branch and cut the release. But that has been a problem for a while. That is actually, I'll make sure that issue gets linked in here because it's just a matter of I don't have write access to the repo, which is annoying. Let's been a problem forever. Let me just find it. But anyway, I'll let you keep going.
Okay. We are aware of these issues. I think we can keep discussing that after meeting. Let's try figure out a plan for embedding all the fixes for notebooks, tag 181 for notebooks, and finally release Kubeflow 181.
Okay, great. I'm going to keep going, trying to keep the meeting going. Any final questions, updates, comments on the release update? Okay. Stefano, what about the Kubeflow user survey or the KubeCon user survey? Is there, since that's coming up, I kind of wanted to bring this up a little bit higher on.
I pasted a link top of the document. Not sure if you've moved it below here in the meeting notes.
There's a link at the top of the document. Let me look here. Hold on. We have a lot of stuff here. What happened? Oh, I guess we lost everything that was in the
Oh, sorry. I cleared that out because I assumed that you'd moved it down. I'm so sorry. I can get it back if you need it.
Yeah, well, anyways.
Do you want to share your screen?
I'm from the phone, cannot
Okay.
do that, but the last issue under Kubeflow/community. So I've got a proposal, draft survey that we can launch. We could launch in time by KubeCon if you guys can review it, provide feedback. So the intention here is to have a shorter survey than what we had the past few years. I mean, intentionally just to start recruiting some folks who would like to have more detailed interviews. So the survey focuses on the broad adoption of Kubeflow as a platform, with the intention of then publishing some more surveys in the coming months that are specific to some components. Again, if you don't see component-specific questions and stuff like that, that's intentional. But everything is explained in the issue or in the doc. Take a look, provide some feedback. I would love if we have a quick turnaround so we can prepare for KubeCon and move it to a Google form and do everything we need to make sure that we can publish it and have the supporting material. I know it's a short call, but yeah, let's try and get it done.
Okay, I'm just looking through the question set now.
I think if we want to discuss about the questions, we could reserve some time during the release meeting on Monday as well to keep this meeting going. That could be an option, like 15, 20 minutes. We could reserve for that. So if some people want to join, we can discuss about it next Monday. And in the meantime, work asynchronously on the doc.
Okay. All right. Yeah, so this is good. This is great. Hopefully folks see this document, see these questions. We can add comments onto here. Thanks for putting that together. This is seems like this is an easy task until you try it. For those of you who are interested in this, I think it's really valuable work, both in the way that you approach the community, as well as how you ask questions. I know that when we first started this, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, Google had some really good best practices about how to run user surveys. And they were far above anything I'd ever seen. and they have a very good process for that. So I don't know if there's anybody from Google that might want to contribute or help, but I found their best practices to be really good there. Okay, Stefano, you're saying next Monday, and when is KubeCon? It's only a few weeks away, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like the goal here would be to have the survey signed off by, let's say, next Wednesday. So then we can turn it into a Google form by the end of next week, because then KubeCon starts. So yeah, that's not much time, but having a shorter survey as well will help. So hopefully we'll get it done.
All right, great work. Please support that effort and get your comments in this week. And let's try to be productive and move it forward. Okay, so let's go forward on to the model registry. What happened with the model registry? Anybody want to give an update?
Hi, Josh. Matteo from Model Registry here. Happy to give an update. We had our bi-weekly meetings just yesterday. So thanks again for everyone who showed up. We had more people than usual. I think that the Google Summer of Code interest was also quite a magnet. So we're very happy to see a lot of people interested in the project. And we welcome everyone, not only for the Google Summer of Code scope, but in general for anyone who wants to contribute to Model Registry or Kubeflow in general. What we went through yesterday was we just give a brief sort of like a informal update about the Google Summer of Code, because I think that some people needed to have information about the eligibility requirements. So we pointed them at the Google website for the eligibility requirement, or at the Google website for the timeline, just to get everybody on the same page. Then also we invited folks that were interested to make a proposal in a very specific sort of like a breaking down form, and that regardless of Google Summer of Code, if they decide or not to put a proposal, even if they put a proposal and they get not accepted, we just reminded them that they can join Kubeflow in general as a community and contribute sort of like on the side and not necessarily through Google Summer of Code. So this is a point that I've seen a lot of people were talking about for the Google Summer of Code for Kubeflow, so we reiterated on that message. For as well, we went through the Kubeflow 1.9 release checklist. This is a request that came from the release team. So Stefano, thank you for mentioning that. We've taken action on the GitHub issue to make it down into a checklist of what needs to be done for the Model Registry Alpha. Be onboarded in 1.9 based on what we discussed in previous meetings. And also I went through and ensured that the status reflects the current work that has been done or future works that will need to happen that we are currently working on. For that, one is the question, Matthew, thank you as well for the feedback. I think that we had a sync chat just on the document. So I think that last time I've asked the question about the container registry, but I think that I may have misunderstood, because I thought that there was an automatic sync between GitHub container registry and the Docker Hub container registry. But I understand from Matthew from the document that this is actually...
When you, to be clear, are you talking about like, when you say automatic, like I have built a script to move things between container registries for when we have a backlog of things that haven't been there, you know what I mean? But like, I don't think that's what you're talking about, is it?
No, because maybe I misunderstood that this happens every time that I push to GitHub.
No, definitely not. You have to do it manually. Yeah, definitely not. Yeah.
Right. That's fine. My next question then will be, okay, so we are happy as Model Registry to indeed follow suit and to put it on Docker Hub for the Model Registry.
Wait, so to be clear, do you want to put it on Docker Hub and GitHub Container Registry, or one or the other, or just Docker Hub?
I would prefer to do one if it is easier, but if it actually unlocks for other...
Well, personally, I would prefer that. I mean, I don't know if the steering committee wants to weigh in. Maybe it's more of a technical steering committee, or if that even becomes a committee. But like, I personally think that we should try and standardize on the GitHub Container Registry, but that's a whole... with Docker Hub as a mirror. But like, that's a separate kind of discussion.
Yeah,
so
and
Matthew,
sort of like...
sorry. Yeah, sorry, Matteo, to interrupt you. So I'm just like wondering, Matthew, can you maybe start an issue to discuss this like because I agree with you. We should like, be consistent. It's a good thing. But like we haven't got the chance to discuss this yet because like there's so many things happening going on, right?
Yeah, I agree that it's not something that we can do like before the next release. But I'm just I do think we should have that discussion, at least have a plan to migrate. And then I think it still makes sense to have a mirror. You know what I mean? But but for example, that doesn't mean we have to mirror all of the development container builds. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. We could just mirror specifically the release ones or something.
That makes sense. But I mean, in any case, we should like identify pros and cons of using GitHub registry or Docker registry, right? For the
Well, I guess
component.
it's a matter of like it's always a matter of risk, right? Because either one could pull their free availability at any time. I think Microsoft is a bit less likely with GitHub, just given, but obviously Microsoft is also exposed to much higher bandwidth problems than Docker, because Docker Hub has already put in limits, whereas GitHub hasn't. You know what I mean? There are no current limits on Docker Hub. You can literally upload a 100 terabyte image. Maybe not.
Yeah.
But
So
like,
I think it works to, identify these pros and cons and not like blocking model registry right now. I mean, like I
well,
understand.
so what I'm saying is you can push to the container registry on GitHub without any token. Like, to be clear, that's just a thing that's allowed by the repo, as far as I can tell.
Yeah. But
Andre,
yeah.
you have the Kubeflow one,
Yeah.
right?
Yes, that's true. Yep.
So he can share that with you, or he can put that as a secret on your repo.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, we can ask James, like, because I don't have admin access, but we can ask James to do it.
Yeah, sounds good with me. So that with the token, then I can as
And
well
if you
push
and did you, Matteo, did you see my example script as well? I don't know if you wanted to use that script, but like you don't have to be clear.
No, actually, thank you for sharing. And I think that actually we sort of like crossed path on these cross container builds for different reasons as well. What I would advise is that for the Kubeflow 1.9, at least I would aim to have sort of like the image, and if it makes simpler with the existing script that we had in place, to have it for sort of like just establishing what we were doing before, just on Docker Hub or Docker Hub and GitHub container registry. This is the first aim that I will do for. If during the Kubeflow 1.9 we will be able as well to do multi-architecture, I'm more than happy to try the script and
okay, there's another thing that
works.
I want to bring up to your attention about that script, that even let's say you just used Docker Hub or just used GitHub Container Registry, the thing that the notebook image scripts do that you may want is they use build caches. So they use GitHub Container Registry to so let's say you're constantly building master and like and you don't change every image every time, but you do want to retag every single image in master with a specific aligned hash, so that you say, because like notebooks has like 30 images, you know what I mean? Like, so rebuilding every image every time is crazy, but yet we do need to tag each of them. And since the container registry is smart, the way that we do that, and then also sometimes we make changes at certain layers of the image, right? But you have to actually, when you're using BuildX, you have to use like there's like a couple of settings you have to write down, like maximum build cache kind of export to, import from. So that's just something you might want to consider doing to improve your build speeds, just as a side kind of thing.
No, and thank you for sharing that on the issue. So definitely we can evaluate if we are able to make use of it. If it sort of like, to be very transparent here, I think it's like my perspective is that where I will try to steward the team here is that for the Kubeflow 1.9, we should aim to have this image somewhere. So if the script that worked before, sort of like as a first step, but definitely if it is not for the 1.9, is immediately after, because also, as you well said, these are things that eventually pays off in the long run as well, for having the things available or using layers as needed to increase the build, improve on the build time. So most definitely.
So, like, Matthew, if only concern is the token, it's not a problem, I think, right? But I think the point that you raised before about like the limitation is valid, right? And the network bandwidth, right? And the high availability for people who like.
Yeah. The three benefits are security, because GitHub Container Registry is managed on a GitHub level.
Yep.
You know, like, so Docker Hub is managed by some random token that we're going to add, you know what I mean? That's the main benefit. The next benefit, in my mind, is that it is much closer to the GitHub Actions runners. So the network speed is actually much faster. And the other reason is that users do not have any pool limits. I know that this may not be forever, but right now it is the case. There are no current pool limits on Docker Hub. GitHub Container Registry.
I understand this. I mean, we also have like around 30 images across like KTIP and training operator today, right? So we didn't even like have any. I mean, I remember like some of the users complain about it, but at the whole, like we didn't really have any problems with pushing and pulling images for our users, right?
I agree that it's not. There just is some complexity. Like if you, we're starting to get to the point where the number of images in Kubeflow is almost at the limit of what a Docker Hub free unauthorized account can do. I've definitely run into it while testing a few times, where I've like blown away a cluster and redone it like 4 times in a row. I have actually run into the limit where Docker Hub's like, no, you're not allowed to pull anymore. But without authorizing.
Yeah.
Okay, hey, I want to get kind of back so I have a couple of Ramesh has a question. Go ahead, Ramesh.
No, I was gonna suggest that, same thing there, Dash, is, for now, let's stick with what Andre can give us in terms of token wise, and then we will figure it out. Start another Jira issue in terms of the GitHub and the syncing and mirroring portion of it. And,
So my only recommendation is just make sure that you don't accidentally delete any non-images that are not related to you. And also make sure that you prefix your images with model registry, you know what I mean? Model-registry / whatever it is, you know what I mean?
Yeah, we'll do.
So,
and I think, yeah, just go ahead.
I have 2 questions. And one is, where are we with the model registry in terms of when will we see our first demo? How about that? A first POC? When will we see something? What's the kind of take? Any gut feel?
We have, as part of the release team checklist, we have some documentation to produce on how sort of like end users are expected sort of like for the alpha scope to use these things, so to ease it. So my suggestion would be that as soon as I have the documentation available there, I'm very happy as well to record a video and share it with the community.
Is
In that
that
vein,
April, May, June? What's the kind of time frame on that, you think, gut feel?
Can I get back to you on this one? Maybe.
Oh no, we're not gonna let
Okay, so that's fine.
No,
I
so
can. When will be the cutoff date? Because I can make it by that deadline.
Just make up a date that you feel comfortable with.
are we talking middle of the year, or are we talking late in the year? Even if we just talk about that kind of.
Let's say before the code phrase, right?
Yes, and the code freeze. Because I expected the release team will ask me. The release team will ask us as model registry sort of like, do you have your checkout items? And for documentation, I guess that at least some documentation will have been produced by then. So when it is the code freeze for 1.9 or sort of like that gatekeep, that is going to be there as all the other items.
So Josh,
that's great. Go ahead.
Yeah, just just to clarify, is the question whether there's like a working version that can be demoed, or is the question whether everything's been documented and working or not?
Oh, I don't care about the documentation at this point. I'd just like to get some excitement around. Here's some functionality, right? I just want to show people functionality if it's coming, right?
Yeah, we've got demos, but they're based on the code base that was sitting in the Red Hat repositories earlier. We can share some links. Mateo's got some
I'd say
demos.
that we need to definitely have it Kubeflow branded for that piece.
Right.
But my question is, I mean, personally, I mean, as most people do, I'm sure, I've done a lot with model registries. So I'd love to just kind of understand the approach that's been taken. Like, I haven't really understood it. Like, even just something basic like, kind of similar to, maybe we could even do it in the form of a PR to the website that adds the new model registry documentation section, even though it says, hey, this is not ready yet, there's a big warning at the top, you know what I mean? Here's the approach that's been taken if you want to participate and help out, because it will get a lot of eyes on it, if you know what I mean? And because right now, there just isn't a lot of model registries available. So the addition of a new one might
This is an action item for release, so
But that's for the release. But like, I'm
No, no,
thinking we
not
could get
not
like
just for the
a
release.
coming
Yeah, yeah.
soon page, like a coming soon
We
page.
actually, yeah,
Yeah.
it's funny, we had that exact conversation this morning in our internal meeting, and yeah,
So I'm
we're
happy to
going
help you
start
write
working on
that.
it.
Like
Yeah.
I've done a lot of docs
Right.
writing, but like I still would need to jump on a meeting just to understand the like I wouldn't be saying to people, hey, this is how you use it, because that could change. But it would be
Yeah.
like and in fact it would say, actually, the only people who should really be using it right now are contributors. And then, but if you want to contribute, please
Yeah.
join, and this is how you contribute. Because I think we can use the fact that the Kubeflow website is incredibly popular to kind of push people to contribute, right? Because I think you wanted contributors, right?
All
Yes,
right,
yes.
we got a lot of other things to get to. What else on the container? Anything else on the container? I have one other comment on the container registry. Any other comments on the container registry before we move
Yes, I
on?
think Matthew, my last point, like, please rename your issue, and maybe we can, like, I mean, we definitely need to resolve it, and I agree with you, relatively soon, maybe by like end of this release, but we need to find the solution across all the components.
Wait, we're
So
talking about renaming?
no, I'm talking about like having the unified registry across all the
Oh, I
Kubeflow.
see.
So
I
maybe
think there
like
is actually an old issue for that. I can go
Yes.
find it.
yeah, we have the one. We have the one that you kind of like migrating the Docker Hub to GitHub registry. So if we don't have one, we need to create one, and like we need to find a consensus. So yeah, George, go ahead.
Okay, my only other thing on the Google Summer of Code, and this is having been a parent and had made my kid submit a lot of proposals to things that he didn't want to do. I would appreciate everyone's understanding that if people are putting proposals in, that I would like to see as many of them accepted as possible, right? And I understand they have to be of high quality, but if people are making the effort to put a proposal
So
in,
Josh, there's two things. I'll stop you right there. We actually can't accept all of them. That's like a Google requirement. Like the Google people have to filter them first.
that's fine. I just don't want to see our goal is to get contributors and not to turn the people. And I know there's been a lot of conversation about, hey, go ahead, Ramesh, about how you've been
Right. So
positioning
here,
this for people that are coming in the door, right?
right. So here is how how I understand this is gonna work. All right. If Matthew, if let's say that you get 10 people who is gonna give a proposal for the notebooks component, right? You are responsible, you're responsible for ranking them, in terms of your conversations with the student and the strong, how he interacted in the community slash his proposals benefit the strongness of his proposal, so on and so forth, right? You rank 1 to 10, right? Everybody does, every mentor does that in their own space. Then we can sit together and say that we can pick what are the top ones, right? So it's not for us to say that yeah, this proposal is we can take it, you can say that, but you can rank it lower, so to speak. So when we at the end of the day we need to submit a ranked proposals, like every project, or maybe giving 2 slots to your project, we need to rank those proposals in the end of the day. Then based on those rankings, they can give us, let's say, even if we put like 10 to 10, right? There may be 50 proposals altogether. We rank all the 50, and they may give us 2 proposals. So that means that the top 2 proposals are the only 2 ones gets approved and they get students for, right? So that's how it's gonna work. And but the proposals, we can't stop them. Somebody could go click on the Google website and submit something to your project. You can just, all you can do is lower priority. That's about it. It doesn't, that makes sense?
Also,
Yeah,
just as a complete side note,
does.
yeah.
I'm just worried that, it's so hard to get people to contribute. They put the effort in and think about putting a proposal in. Somehow, it would be great if they put the effort to put a proposal together. I mean, how many hours are they going to put into that proposal?
Well, I guess it depends on how badly they want it. Like there are going to be hundreds of proposals, just as a complete side note. Like based off the interest levels that I've seen, I'd be surprised if we got
Hundreds
less
of
than 100.
proposals into.
I'd be surprised if we got
Oh.
less than 100. Like there have
In
been about
Kubeflow,
300
we're gonna get
people.
hundreds of proposals.
So there's been at least 90 people have like in about as strong a way as possible expressed that they're going to make a proposal, which is by joining the Kubeflow discuss like the GSOC contributors channel and then making a comment saying, "Hey, I want to contribute," which implies to me that they're going to make a proposal. Of course, maybe they'll look at that and say, "Holy crap, there's a lot of other people here. Maybe I don't have a chance." So, but I hope that's not the case. So if you're listening, if you think you have a good proposal, please make it. That's beside the point. But
Yeah. So on that one, we've been saying yesterday, as Matthew went into in the beginning there, Matthew, I encourage, all the community leaders who are right now, who still got the meetings lined up in next couple weeks, just make sure that, you mention that, hey, even though your proposal did not get accepted, please come and contribute as one of the center themes, because obviously we're definitely not going to have 90 slots. At most we're going to have 10 slots, even if we are lucky, right? So yeah, make sure that you whether we some way to engage them, and some way to make so that we can get more contributors to Kubeflow.
in any case, the one thing I did want to raise with everyone is that if you are a working group lead or a mentor, please comment. And it's like that. Currently, it's just me and Andre who have made comments in that chat aimed at the students. So all the students who are like actively engaged should be in that GSOC-contributors channel. So like, just give them a little bit of like context. You don't have to talk to them about the projects in there. You can if you want, but it's like, okay, tell them which meeting to go to ask questions. Like for example, me and Andre, I think, have both raised said like, come to the next working group meeting for notebooks and or training,
And I think I did the same for Manifest, so we already cover 3 working groups.
I think Model Registry also did it, right?
Yeah, I think for that we have already covered all the projects across working groups. I think it's just a matter of waiting for the application date.
Yeah, just a quick question to you, Ramesh. Like when we know, like from Google side, if you have a 2 or 3 slots, we don't know yet.
Right. So it's a good question. So we don't know yet until they kind of announce it, right? So
Okay.
only thing we can do is we can rank them, and then it's up to the Google how many they accept from our ranking.
Yeah, because otherwise we need to trim our projects, right? We have 10 projects, we need to trim it to 3, right?
Yeah, because we're treating it like each project is its own thing, right? Rather than overall as an organization, because we're actually such a big org from like an open source perspective that it's more like each of the working groups has projects,
Right. But unfortunately, they look at the org level and they allocate at the org level. So let's say we picked, we picked notebooks as first and the Khatib as the second, model list as third, and we only got 3 slots. Those are the 3 slots we're going to give out, right? That's how the ranking works. So towards when we get all the things and when we go through all, then I'll organize a meeting where we can do this prioritization a little bit. But based on the proposals we get in there, right? But until the Google gives us, we don't know how many. I requested for 10 to be
Are these people doing this for the money or for the prestige?
both, both.
Jobs. Josh, it's jobs. It's
How
primarily
much
jobs.
money are they getting paid?
Depends on the country, but I believe in the US they get up to $10,000, and in European countries they get up to 5K. I think some other countries 2,500. So it varies a little by country too.
I think, sorry, despite on what Google will say, I think we should follow what you say, Ramesh, like explain that the importance of open source, explaining why they should be a part of this community, explain the opportunities they're going to have by being part of this AML, communities. And I hope maybe like, 1% of all of them will stay for the long term with us, right? And it will be our end goal, right? So
Perfect. Yeah. I was thinking more of 10% there, but even 10% is 9 people out of
Yeah.
90 people we got joined. So that would be great. Even if we can retain one person in each community or each project, that's huge for
We probably need to move on from Google Summer of Code a little bit, but this was discussed as the model registry meeting. If people want more, is that where the real-time conversation for an hour goes on at this point, or?
About Google Summer of Code, I'm advising every component when they have their next meeting, students are going to come in there. I'm asking them to engage them there, to ask them, fill out any, give any answers to the questions they have, and make them feel welcomed, and encourage them to contribute and encourage them to participate, right? Just as a welcome. So every meeting, every group meeting we're gonna have in next 2 weeks.
All right.
Anyway, Josh, can we move on?
Yeah. I'm just struggling with 90 people, and we're going to accept 3. Okay. Spark operator.
Is there any? So I saw an update in the private chat. I don't know if we can say anything yet. I just want to just open the floor to anyone who knows anything to say something right now or not say something right now.
No, we don't mean much. We don't have like the concretes, like, the results yet, right? So just for everyone else, we constantly contacting Google on this. I know James on the call. James, maybe you have anything to say for us in the community about it?
He may not be on.
Yeah, maybe if you unmute James, but in any way, like we're working with Marcin, with James, with other folks from Google on the transfer, and we really hope that soon it will be the transfer. But we have really positive signs there that everything is almost ready. Okay, that's fine. So I guess like
yep. So I just wanted to say there is progress. That's whatever. I just wanted to put that at least. Even if it may come soon, it may come later. Who knows? But it's progressing.
Okay, good. Let's keep moving. Can we settle the architecture diagram thing? Is this close
it's
to
almost so there's definitely, I think there was some requests. So we made some requests, and then I think it's so much is happening that we got a bit lost. But I believe we can just confirm whether.
Where are we? Is this is this the latest, or is there something else?
I think there's still some work that was being done. Yeah, so we were discussing some updates, and then because effectively we want to get to a point where it's like acceptable enough to merge, and then we can iterate on it a little bit if we need to. But it's still going to take time, Josh. I think the more important one is that next PR in the website. If we're going to spend any time discussing anything, let's go to the next PR, which is the one that Andre wrote.
This one's been dragging on forever. What's the next step on this one?
I think he just needs to make some updates based off what we've suggested.
Who's he?
Vikas. He's the guy. He lives in Australia, so his time zone's not. He's not in the meeting.
Okay. Here's my request. Right, this has been going on too much. Right, come on, guys. We're designing by committee. One more round. One or two more rounds. This is done. Right, no more.
Trust me, I want the same thing as you. Josh. Don't worry. We just can't. There's certain things that we need. Like most things we can do force through, but there's like certain things we just shouldn't. And I think architecture diagram is number 1 on the list of things we shouldn't force through. But yeah. Okay,
but one more round or 2 more rounds with him. What's the number?
Oh, as soon as we can get some consensus, then we can merge it. That's my thought. But there's just not quite consensus yet.
From whom?
Just the people reviewing it.
From active people, right, Josh? Like I was asking like everyone in the community to comment. Not all of them commented, but I agree with Matthew. It's an important piece to contribute on the website. We should find a consensus there. And we're almost there, Josh. So I hope like maybe this or next week we will merge it. So
there's a couple of like late questions that once we've got the content correct, we do maybe want to change the coloring and stuff, but we can follow that up with another PR to do the coloring and stuff, I think. But
distribution table,
That's the
Andre,
most important PR right now. There's that.
are
So
we
that PR
ready to
is
talk
yeah.
about this yet, or is this still need more time?
So this is not my PR anymore. Andre made his own PR now.
Right, but Andre, are we ready to talk about this, or is this?
Yeah,
still-
let's do it quickly. So this is like Matthew, like based on your point, we discussed this in our latest steering committee call, and like Josh, Jono, Yuan, James was proposing some ideas around this. And just to summarize, we decided to completely remove distribution name for public cloud specific distributions like Kubeflow on AWS or Kubeflow on GCP or other things. And right now, so several questions we need to answer right now. So Mario, your proposal was to change the table, like make the two tables, right? With a generic table and specific tables.
Yeah, because I think the approach that you were taking just looked a bit clunky. That's the main reason. Like, so the way that they had it was still one table with the distribution name as a slash on the maintainer, which was a bit weird. So I just think that that split there looks much nicer, you know, where you've got generic and specific. I agree that it does now open the question of which table goes first. And so that if we all agree that that table split is fine, the question then becomes which table goes first. Personally, obviously, you know where I'm going to land on this. I want the generic ones to go first, but the reasons, I'll give you two reasons. The first reason is that the project as a whole is about Kubernetes, not about any specific cloud, and I don't want the ordering of the specific cloud platform table to influence people's perceptions of the project as to like Google Cloud is the Primera one or Amazon is the Primera one. And the second reason is that I believe users are going to preference their cloud vendor's distribution regardless of what we do. So there's no particular reason to disadvantage the generic distributions by putting them second, because users are still going to be looking.
I think it's a valid point. I think the question we need to answer, like for people who want to use Kubeflow on any cloud, doesn't really matter how we name it.
Which part are we talking about here?
Like
So the best way to Josh, the best way to look at it is to go to the preview page. Andre, can you say what you meant?
Yeah. I mean, like the question is like, because the main point from the steering committee was like, hey, for users, it doesn't really matter how we name the distribution, right? For them, it's more important who is maintaining this and where.
Yeah. So I agree with in principle, the idea that because all of the Kubeflow on X distributions don't make a lot of sense, it makes sense that if your distribution is only for one platform, we just put you in a table which is platform specific.
Mm-hmm.
Amber?
Yeah, Amber, go ahead.
I think the naming of these, like we should just go back to our trademarks and policy and our usage of our name and logos and just make everybody follow the policy.
If you want to roll down, Josh, to go on the preview, and then you'll be able to do it. So
Amber,
roll to the bottom of.
Yeah, we don't have policy there right yet. Like the clear policy on how we.
Well, we do have a name and logo usage policy which covers how people can use Kubeflow and how they have to use the naming. And if we're not going to enforce that, then we should rewrite it. If we're going to enforce it, then we should enforce it, because if we don't, it becomes indefensible.
I agree, and that's definitely something we need to talk to the CNCF about. But the rules pretty much as they currently stand say you can't use Kubeflow in your name of your distribution. But yet all of them do.
you can if you put a word in between Kubeflow and whatever, and that you don't make it sound like it's that Kubeflow is endorsing your project, and it's like it can't be Kubeflow and then pick company X name. It needs to be Kubeflow on or Kubeflow whatever. There needs to be a word in between it according to our own policies. So either we need to rewrite our policies or we need to enforce our policies.
Yeah,
that's all.
I think we can. Yeah, I agree with that, Amber, 100%. The actual practicality of that will raise some questions, but in the short term, I think we can still improve the situation by just, as Andre's proposed here, and the steering committee thinks it's a good idea, is to just, for the distributions which don't have a name, because there's no need for them to have a name because they're just a platform specific guide, to just put the platform name as the name.
Josh, can I share my screen?
Yeah, please do.
So this is a new table.
But
So
this is pre-split. This is before the split.
yeah, this is before the split. So right now we can see that's only for canonical and for deploy.kf, we added the distribution name and the maintainer. And for others, we just remove completely the name here. So like two things. What steering committee said it for users, it doesn't really matter how the distribution is named. It matters like who is maintaining this, what version of Kubeflow, and where it can be run, right? So, but at the same time, I understand that probably naming is important for distributions who actually kind of like market themselves as the name, right? Like driven by the name, basically, right? Because you couldn't just say, hey, like we, this company, we maintain Kubeflow running on any platforms, but we want to like the users know our name, right? That is why you might like want to add the name in this table, right? Rather than just adding just a maintainer, right? But the questions from the user side doesn't really matter. Like,
So the names actually were kind of wrong on the old table anyway. Like with the exception of Kubeflow on AWS and other ones, most of them actually weren't named like that when you went into their website. You know, they were actually named something different. You know what I mean? They were like, but everyone was just following that convention with Kubeflow on X, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
All I'm trying to say is that for the ones that are obviously named, Charmed Kubeflow and deploy.kf, yeah.
Sorry. I just have a question. Do we have any users on the call right now? Any Kubeflow users?
I'm sure there are, but standing up to a chat like this is probably quite scary.
Yeah, maybe because I really want to hear like what users think about it, right? Like when they come to this page, how they make a decision, right?
So from my understanding, what users are doing right now is they mainly just look for the one that's for their cloud platform. And this is what I see on the Slack channel all the time, where people are like,
Okay.
I've tried to use Kubeflow on Azure and it didn't work. And I'm annoyed. You know what I mean? Like this, and so they never even tried the other ones.
But Matthew, this is obvious, right? I mean, if people like they kind of trust third-party clouds, like the AWS, like basically the third-party cloud engineers more because they like kind of like know how to deploy Kubeflow on their platform, right? This is obvious. So, do we have any other comments on this? Because I mean, the thing is like there is a distribution of Kubernetes, right, which can be deployed on any cloud. But the reality is, if users want to run Kubernetes on EKS, right, on AWS, right, they're going to use EKS, right, rather than just deploy their Kubernetes distributions. Maybe they just use distributions can be deployed on any cloud, right? Just have it like simple VMs, right? Set up the VMs and orchestration by themselves. So they kind of like try to maybe follow the same partner for Kubeflow, right? Here, or maybe Istio, right? So there is a service mesh on GCP, right? And service mesh on AWS, right? Users usually go to the engineers of this company to deploy Istio on GCP, right?
So I think there's one problem that we might run into, which is that what about if, and I think this will happen. So we've obviously got, so let's say, for example, we did the split and we had generic distributions at the top and specific distributions at the bottom. What about if there are two different specific distributions for a platform?
Two specific distribution just for like Aricto, right? I guess
that could be one. That's
Yeah,
kind of a generic one. We could twist the definition of generic to allow that one to be up the top. But for something like, let's say there are two OpenShift distributions, for example, let's say.
Okay. That makes sense.
What do we do then?
And I guess it's up to the user to decide. If users trust more like the...
No, but how do we structure it on the table? I'm talking about from a table.
Yeah, so the idea was to like sort it by the Kubeflow version and by the name. So we just sorted by the name, right?
No, but that's the target platform you're sorting by.
Sorry, yeah, by the Kubeflow version and by the target platform. So sorted by
But I guess the difference would be the maintainer would theoretically be different in that case.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like say
so,
IBM's maintaining one and Red Hat's maintaining one or something, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, which is kind of what we already have here. But
we can add additional sorting. I mean, it is not a problem, right?
No, it's more like if we remove the name, then we've removed, like the two rows might be identical, except for the website link.
Yes, but the name of the maintainer will be different, right? I mean
maybe.
like the okay, you mean like the maintain like from the same company, two different or like teams, right? Create a
Two
distribution.
different ways of making Kubeflow on your platform. You know,
Okay.
one might be in
When
a
it-
larger
Yeah,
platform.
yeah, makes sense. When they had,
So-
Yeah.
So here's what I would like to get, and Matthew, I appreciate all the input. But all the other distributions on here, I think have to weigh in. So Oracle, Red Hat, Amazon, Azure, Nutanix. My opinion, really, the distributions should agree on the format, or at least say, okay, I can live with it. I'm okay with this format, right? I think it's simple. I think you can read it, you can understand it. If you're coming in, maybe it's a question we could ask the users in the user survey, but I honestly believe that this is a fair, and I'm a +1 on this.
So, Josh,
you're
would you be
going-
okay with
Okay.
splitting it such that those top two ones are to have the distribution name on the left-hand side rather than target platform?
I think yes, just go ahead. Sorry.
No, I'd rather keep it like this. I'd rather just have one table.
I think Matthew, what
Enough to
is
keep
the
it up.
yeah,
If we have 2 tables, it's gonna be twice as hard to keep it up.
what is the user value of splitting this?
So my main reason is that it allows two things. First, it just makes it obvious that some of these distributions are made to work on every platform. Obviously, you can see that if you understand what the table is saying.
Yeah.
But like, it helps us because it lets us put a preamble which says these distributions support all certified distributions, and then the table. And then it also lets us have different columns. So the main reason is just that target platform is on the left for where it's just a single platform. That makes sense. Whereas distribution name is on the left for where it's a distribution.
But this is, I see. But I mean, like user, I mean, if user really wants to use Kubeflow, they usually like read the whole table, isn't it? I mean, they see that they have a name here, right? I mean, because as I said, like the main important thing for user, it's not the name. It's where you can run it and who is maintaining this, right? And what version of Kubeflow is. That doesn't really matter how you name it, right? Because there is
maybe
it is just a way of how you deploy Kubeflow. I understand that this time sort of like a branding problem, right? Because like you want to like promote the brand and you want to like know everyone about the name of how you deploy Kubeflow, right? But for the user, it doesn't really matter how you name it, right? It doesn't really matter if we rename Kubeflow, right? Because the end of this is just what user will get, like, right, on their platform of running AML workloads in Kubernetes, right? Like if tomorrow we will rename Kubeflow, it doesn't really matter for user, right?
Well, no, but that's
Makes sense?
the thing that matters
Right.
is like,
Hold on, Matthew. Is James or Janu or any of the other folks, anybody from IBM, the other distributions, are there anybody from the other distributions that want to comment on this?
Hey, this is James. So I think the issue now here is the distribution name, right? I think I kind of agree with what Amber said earlier. Like we have a policy, and we need to kind of follow through on the policy. And if we do that, then we can put the distribution name here.
I mean, getting them all to rename themselves might be kind of difficult. Which
Well,
is,
then
I
we
think,
can
kind
make
of what's
then
happening.
we can make exceptions. Like maybe we can grandfather in some distribution.
Well, no, not like that. I mean, more like, I know what I mean is more like, even in cases where it's very clear that the name shouldn't be Kubeflow on X, maybe that distribution isn't maintained anymore.
So here's a contrarian position. If the distribution name is a business or an advertisement of a service, basically, right? And we're an open source. So I think this without the distribution names is actually even better because it's less of a promotion of a particular product. And those names change. They're a hassle to keep updated. I think taking the distribution names completely off is more clean and perhaps more fair.
The concern I just have is, as I was saying before, though, that let's say these are cloud platforms. They're used by millions of companies. Say a random vendor wants to be able to compete with Google on making a Kubernetes distribution, a Kubeflow distribution for its cloud, you know what I mean? Or something to that effect. I just don't want to stifle the competition before it even starts, if you know what I mean. But
Amber, do you have any?
Yeah, so here, just my thought, y'all can disagree, but why don't we take a look at our current policy, the logo and trademark policy. We take a look at how they're named. We see who is following that policy, who isn't. And then we reach out to them and get them to follow the policy. What they do on their side, or you know, we have to make it so that our policies are defendable. And if we're just going to ignore anything, then somebody can come up and say, you know what? I don't care what you guys say. You haven't defended your trademarks. You haven't defended your policies. So therefore, it's indefensible and I can do whatever I want. And so we should take a look at what we're at, what our policy states, see if we need to reach out to folks and say, look, you're in violation of this policy now that we're in the CNCF, blah, 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 or we rewrite our policy. And so we like James said, we can grandfather some people in and say, after this date, this is the naming convention and this is what we're going to go forward with. But just us arbitrarily renaming or saying, or ignoring our own policies is not a good example to set for anybody coming into Kubeflow.
Okay, I'm with you, Amber, but why do we have to have the distribution name on this table? I mean, what you're saying is,
oh, no, there is
they're
no
arguing,
name.
hold on, Matthew. What you're saying and what James is saying, and I'm not disagreeing with it, but you're saying distribution name has to be on this table. And I'm taking position that it doesn't.
Well, here's why I think it does. And this goes back to a point that you had said probably earlier last year. What's the benefit of somebody, a distribution, an organization being part of what's the benefit of that? And if they can't put their name on there, what benefit are they getting? Because there has to be a win-win. If they're contributing to our project, they need to have a name that's also associated with it that they can promote. And so we have to look at the benefits, not just for us, but also for them. And if we leave off the distribution name, that's not really drawing a clear line to that organization that is contributing. And so we need it to be a win-win for everybody. Just like you said, why should organizations be part of this? What are they getting from us? And part of that is having their name and their distribution name associated with Kubeflow because it's a marketing point. So, you know, we got to give a little bit.
I think it's fair. We're over time. I would propose that we have the distributions and the steering committee, everybody either give their +1 or -1 on this. Let's not modify it or try to do whatever you call it, redesign of it. If there's going to be a redesign of it, there'll be a different PR. But I think that we should either give a thumbs up or thumbs down on this particular proposal because, you know, Andre did the effort to put it together. I think we can complete it as it is, but we need to move forward on this rather than we'll get mixed up in others. So I'm a +1 on this one. But if other people want a -1 and you know, we'll figure it out. But I think that this probably has to get +1 and -1 from the major stakeholders, in my opinion, which are the distribution owners. And then if there's, you know, complaints or whatever, we go to the steering committee and we make a final decision. But we got to finish this, right?
So there's other updates to this page in this PR. By the way, there are other updates to this page in this PR, just as a side note. But that's a side note.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to a review for other folks. So we really need to have more comments. It's good from you, Matthew, but also like from other distributions, like from James, maybe from you, from Google folks, from folks from IBM, from Nutanix. I asked Jordan to comment on this, and just want to hear specifically the point, Amber, that you mentioned. Like what we discussed this as well on the steering committee call, and we believe that for third-party cloud owners, it doesn't really matter how, if we put the name here, it more matters that we at least link them on the table, right? We say that, hey, these folks from AWS, they maintain a distribution of Kubeflow on their platform. You can visit their website to learn more about it, right? So we've never seen the use case when, as Matthew said, like two different teams from single organization come to the Kubeflow and try to make it different distributions. So for the last 6 years, we've never seen such use cases. If in the future this will be the use case, we should discuss this and think how we can improve it. But for the last 6 years, there's never been such use case, right? So I think it's just a good starting point to, at least address the point that Matthew raised for several months before, right? Around, hey, users come to this page, they see Kubeflow on AWS, they think that this is the only way to deploy Kubeflow on AWS. And this change specifically addressed this concern that Matthew raised almost a year ago.
The PR also updates some other stuff, but I
Yeah,
do
yeah, yeah.
also fully empathize with, and I agree personally that companies may wish to brand their ML platform, which Kubeflow might be a part of.
Yep.
So like maybe we should just keep the distribution name column and remove it for all of the Kubeflow on X. Like just make a blanket statement which says Kubeflow on X is not an allowed name, and then have it so that it's empty until the vendor adds a real name.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
you know what I mean? Like we could just add a distribution name as a column, make it empty.
I think that's a fair. I think that's a fair request. I think it gets to what Amber is saying. I think it kind of gets to what you're saying too. So I don't. I'm not opposed to that.
I want to hear different comments, like from Nutanix, from IBM, from Red Hat, for people who
right. These are major players. They need to. They've made some effort. So anyway, all right. Look, we're over time. I think there has been valuable conversation that's happened after 11 my time. So after we were supposed to finish the call, what I'd like to do is say, if people want to do a parking lot conversation and stay on later, they can. But I want to release people closer to on time going forward, right? So we're going to try to run the agenda so we end at, the top of the hour. And then turn off the recording and just have parking lot discussion to try to solve some issues, if that's okay.
So yeah, I need to go in like 2 minutes, but do you want to end the recording so we can just quickly discuss a few more things?
Yeah, just the last thing, sorry, before you end the recording, Josh. So if you're a distribution owner, please review this PR. Please let us know what do you think about this change. If you're like +1 on this or you don't like this, and we will address these comments moving forward. So thank you.
Thank you.